So this weekend, UFC welterweight champion of the world, Kamaru Usman, is going to defend his championship against Colby Covington in Madison Square Garden, the world's most famous arena. And you would be surprised about some of the people. You would be surprised at some of the people who are not happy. You know, who's not happy in particular? Oh, well, here's a shocker. Jon Jones isn't happy. You know, not because of anything really to do with this fight itself, but something to do with the fact that Kamaru Usman, as of this past week, has been ranked the #1 pound-for-pound UFC fighter in the world, which arguably makes him the #1 MMA fighter pound-for-pound in the entire world. And Jon Jones isn't happy about that because Jon Jones seems to have developed a complex where now he just assumes that he is entitled to be thought of as the #1 pound-for-pound fighter in the world, despite the fact that he hasn't fought in 2 years. You know, despite the fact that right now he seems to be more interested in trying to figure out how he's going to get away with domestic violence than in ever actually getting back into the octagon and fighting again. You know, during that period of time, the two guys who have surpassed him, I mean, Kamaru Usman, as I mentioned, he's ranked at #1. Israel Adesanya, he's ranked at #2. Both of those guys have been pretty busy in the meantime, in those 2 years since Jon Jones last fought. And so with all of this in mind, I think that we finally just have to call it. Like, it is time to just take Jon Jones out of the rankings altogether. You know, right now, he's not in the light heavyweight rankings. He hasn't fought anybody at heavyweight, so he's not in those rankings either. There is literally no reason at this point to have him in the pound-for-pound rankings at all, let alone at #1. It's time to take him out. Time to just take him out of those rankings altogether. And the simple fact of the matter is that whether or not, you know, the UFC thinks that they still have a star in Jon Jones moving forward, personally, I'm not convinced that they do. I mean, they have maybe a potential star, but your star isn't really a star if you can't fight. But even aside from that, you know, even if you do think that you have that star in the making, they already tried this with Leon Edwards last year, where they turned around and they took Rocky out of the welterweight rankings because he had been too inactive. You know, he said that, you know, they said that he was too inactive, that he hadn't fought recently enough, and they were having too much trouble getting him to fight again. It's like, oh, well, geez, right there you have it. He hasn't fought in quite a while. They're having too much trouble getting him to fight again. Not to mention all of this other disgraceful conduct that Jon Jones has been up to for the last couple of years, you know, the last few months in particular. So, hey, you know what? I don't think there's any two ways about it. It's time to just take Jon Jones out of the rankings. And he can sit there and he can cry about not being ranked, you know, #1 as much as he wants. He doesn't belong in these rankings at all. He's had it too easy for too long. Just take him out of the rankings and be done with it.